Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations where we generally look at one or another lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the daily office lectioner. And I thought we'd take a look at the lesson for Wednesday's evening prayer that's written in the book of Job. Now, we talked a little bit about the background of Job and how Job has these things taken away from him. His health has been destroyed, and he's trying to figure out why these things have happened. Now, we're privy to the beginning of the story because we know that why God is doing this. But, of course, Job doesn't know yet, and neither does anybody else around him. And so we have entered into the picture the first of Job's three friends who are going to try to help Job to figure this out. Now, what's interesting, of course, is that none of these friends are really very kind to Job. They're not compassionate. They're not empathetic. They try to problem solve why these things are happening to Job. After Job, remember the other day we talked about how Job wished he'd never been born at all. Things were so terrible. So the first of the friends is Eliphaz, and he, of course, says that it's obvious that the reason why this is happening is because you've done something wrong, and therefore it's God's will that you be punished. And of course, Job he can't see anything that he has done to deserve this, and we actually know from the background of the story that that is actually true. But here's the words from the 5th chapter, beginning at the 8th verse, and this is Eliphaz the Temanite who's speaking. I would seek unto God, and unto God would I commit my cause, which doeth great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number, who giveth rain upon the earth and sendeth waters upon the fields, to set up on high those that be low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety. He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. They meet with darkness in the daytime, and grope in the noonday as the night. But he saveth the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor hath hope, and iniquity stoppeth her mouth. Behold, happy is the man whom God correcteth. Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty. For he maketh sore, and bindeth up, he woundeth, and his hands make whole. Okay, now, what Eliphaz is saying is theologically correct. Right? It is a blessing if we are chastened of the Lord. If we've gone off track, it is a blessing if the Lord helps to provide some extra motivation for us to come back on track. And in fact, the reality is that we are created in a particular way, but because of sin, our nature is fallen. And so oftentimes the discomfort that we feel and the head we bump up against headlong into things is because what our sinful nature is trying to do is not actually in accord with how God's created nature is actual and is supposed to be in effect for us. We think something's good. We think some way that we want to live is good. We think it should make us happy. But if it is not God's will, we will certainly find ourselves not able to find rest in it because it is not the will of God. And in fact, if God corrects us, that is, in fact, a blessing. But again, we have hindsight in this. So all these friends are going to give Job good information, but it doesn't apply to his cause, right? And Job will say that. He said, you're saying all these things, but in this case, I'm pretty sure that this is not why it's happening, and this is why. So anyway, enjoy reading the book of Job. Don't get too caught up in the problem that it might present of God being involved in this. But we need to look at the ways in which we look at sin, the way that we look at pain, the way that we look at suffering, and all of the theological implications of it. But we do need to end up being like Job in the end, right? And I'll go ahead and read ahead to the end. The ending's good, okay? And Job does stay and is satisfied with the Lord. Today's Wednesday. We have our 12:15 Holy Communion service, and Wednesday's always a healing Mass. If you would like to be anointed for healing at Mass, you certainly should come and receive communion and be anointed as well at the end of the service. And, of course, evening prayer at 5 o'clock. And I hope you have a Wednesday that is full of blessings. Bless you.